With the release of Star Fox 64-5 coming in the next days, I felt like preparing myself properly by going back and revisit the game that put Fox and his team on the map. Released in 1997 for the Nintendo 64, Star Fox 64 is a reimagined version of the original SNES Star Fox, which was a pretty big deal back in 1993, as it was one of, if not the first game that used the Super FX chip, engineered to render 3D polygons and some advanced 2D effects. While the SNES title is pretty tough to come back to, Star Fox 64 is where it's still at, and Nintendo knows it. Although almost 30 years old, the game still feels great to play, still looks good for a Nintendo 64 game, a standard playthrough lasts for about an hour and it's filled with plenty of voice lines many of us still remember even after years away from the game. In this video, I'll bring you through the whole game, visiting all the levels one can play, the requirements to find new routes, occasional changes in levels depending on the path we chose, getting the 2 possible endings to achieve and the unlockables we can get by reaching the point goal in levels. If you're new here, I like to do deep dives on games' main stories, magnifying their events and going step by step through them. I only do it as a hobby and I edit like it's still 2012, but you can check out my channel if that's something you could be interested in. Without further ado, let's begin the game. Once we turn the power on, we get a little premise of the actual events of the game. Corneria, one of the planets of the Lilith system, sends a distress signal to Star Fox, a mercenary company pleading to help them win a war against the evil Dr. Andros, who was exiled to the planet Venom. Now wanting revenge, he struck back at the ones who sent him away, putting the whole system at risk at the same time. We are Lilat's only hope to deal with the threat and save the galaxy before it falls completely in the hands of the madman. Meet the team. Slippy Toad, one of the best and most annoying engineers in the system. Peppy Hare, the most knowledgeable, experienced and oldest pilot of the group. Falco Lombardi, the ace pilot of the team who has an attitude on par with his skill, and Fox McCloud, the young leader of the team. They fly in spaceships called R-Wings, personal aircrafts crafted with mobility in mind, also able to shoot lasers and launch bombs as means of defense, and is the vehicle will operate in most missions, all found aboard the Great Fox spaceship, the base of their operation. That's it for the intro cutscene. In terms of main menu, there's not much here except for the campaign, multiplayer, a small tutorial and rankings because the game is very short and focused on making the run with the best score, which was parallel with arcade games still going at that time, so let's jump directly in the campaign mode and begin the playthrough. We don't need to do the tutorial, I'll explain the controls once we jump in our first mission. Once the campaign starts, we get a little more lore regarding the events of the game. Andros, the main antagonist, was an evil scientist whose experiments were destroying life in the galaxy. Before it got out of hand, General Pepper from the Cornerian army exiled him to Venom, a barren and distant planet, saving the galaxy and allowing it to restore itself from the nasty experiments. However, 5 years later, General Pepper noticed a strange activity coming from Venom and hired the former Star Fox team, composed of James McCloud, Fox's father, Peppy, and another member called Pigma to investigate. Once arrived on Venom, Pigma betrayed his team and defected to the enemy's side, ambushing James and Peppy with a surprise attack from Venom's forces. It was told that both James and Peppy were captured, but miraculously, Peppy managed to escape Venom and warned Fox about the events and his father's capture. Now a few years later, Andros is back for revenge, sent his army around the Lilith system, cornering General Pepper, who has no choice but to call once again for Star Fox, now a new team led by James' son. This is where we start. Each playthrough begins with the Corneria stage, being assaulted by Andros' forces. Looking at the map, General Pepper waited an awful long time before asking for help. The whole galaxy is compromised. Anyway, our first mission is to retake control of the planet and expel the enemy forces off of it. Since it's our first mission, I'll take this moment to explain the controls as we play the stage. After a final checkup of the R-Wing, it's time to take the front stage. On original console, the R-Wing's Y-axis is inverted and can take some time to get used to, but it works well. We can blast lasers on enemies and even create a shot that can lock in on them and create a small explosion, effective against groups. During stages, teammates will appear on screen to either help you or ask you to help them. In this case, Slippy slips away from formation and gets chased by an enemy. Expect him to get often in this situation. We then enter Corneria City, who's not only been invaded, it's losing the battle hard. Most of it is destroyed already, but at least that allows us to fire at will and destroy as much enemies as we can. We can find some power-ups here. The laser icon grants additional power to our laser, changing it to twin lasers, expanding the shot size. Getting another laser power-up grants the hyper laser, the strongest and biggest weapon we can get. It should be mentioned that the wings of the R-Wing can be broken, and if they are, the ship will slowly tilt in a direction, making precise movement more difficult while resetting your laser to level 1. You can repair your wings by picking up the wing repair pickup. There are also rings we can pass through. The silver ones gives us a bit of health, and while the gold ones also do, getting 3 of them doubles our shield gauge for the stage. Picking up 3 more gold rings again will give us a life. There is also a special ring that restores much more health than the normal ones as well. Last pickup are the bombs, projectiles with great power that can wipe the screen of enemies if needed. You can detonate them once launched by pressing the bomb button again for more precision. At some point, we'll get chased by enemies, prompting Peppy to tell us to use the brakes and slow down to shake off the enemy. Indeed, the R-Wing comes with a boost and a brake, usable only when that blue bar up top is full. We'll have the opportunity to use the boost right after the checkpoint, as Falco will take the front, but his R-Wing malfunctions, putting him in a bad spot far away from us. We'll need to use the boost and destroy the enemy so Falco can back up and correct his issue, otherwise he'll be downed and will be unavailable for the rest of the mission and the next one. Whether you save him or not, we'll have to do a barrel roll. By double tapping the Z or R buttons, we can spin and deflect enemy projectiles but cannot deflect damage from explosion or contact. This is also the legendary phrase that could be considered a meme before memes were a thing. Oof, that made me feel old. Moving on. See the hit plus 5 thing? That's the number of points you get from defeating one or many enemies at the same time. You want to see these if you're going for a high score, as destroying a group of enemies will give you more points than defeating them individually. After crossing the lake, we'll see a waterfall and the boss will be right after. This boss battle will be fought in all range mode, signaling that we're now free to fly where we want as long as we stay in the boss arena. Before getting to the boss, let me show you the rest of the maneuvers we can make. While turning, we can hold either Z or R to turn sharply, which is super useful to quickly dodge obstacles and turn faster during all range mode. We can also do a somersault, which can be useful sometimes, and a U-turn to quickly switch direction. We can do these moves by pressing simultaneously down and either boost or brake. Now for the boss. This one is super easy. It's a land robot, and while his weak point is on his back, we can shoot his arm and legs to remove his means of attacking and moving. A couple of shots in the back and boom, here's our first mission completed. Now for the best part of the game. Fun fact, I wasn't sure if I was going to get the latest Star Fox reboot since it's still the same goddamn game again, but the moment I heard this song when I played the demo, I caved. I'll get into more details later, but for now, let's keep moving and get to the next stage, Meteo. This asteroid field is quite dense and stretches for a bit. If Corneria was an introductory level, Meteo is the first actual one. First part will make us shoot asteroids to make some flying space, until we run into an enemy ambush. A bomb can make short work of them, as Peppy suggests. A bit farther, we'll need to navigate between huge asteroids, needing to brake or boost at times to avoid getting crushed. After getting through, we'll get a call from the Great Fox and Rob will send us a supply box if we answer. The box's contents differs depending on what you need most, either health, bombs, wing repair or laser upgrade. Watch out for the enemies from behind though. A bit farther, we'll encounter these butterfly-like enemies, which were the bane of my existence as a kid. They were so difficult to shoot and their rings stayed for too long on screen. It took a while for me to get them. Luckily, the checkpoint is right after that and we will get into an enemy dense zone that we'll have to pierce through to get to our third stage. The charge shot works really well here and you can get a lot of points by shooting grouped enemies. Once we're through here, our next planet will be on site, but the boss manages to corner us before we can get to it. Damn it! He's not much of an obstacle though. In the first phase, we'll have to shoot the weak point that is located under the rotating shield. Shoot the shield too much, however, and it will send the energy back after absorbing a couple of shots. Once the weak points are all destroyed, the shield will detach from the enemy ship, forcing him into his second phase, where he'll launch electricity bolts, but only in the middle of the screen. The new weak point will be behind the bolts, reachable between shots. After breaking it, the boss will admit defeat. Falco doesn't have any of it, and rightfully so. Look at the boss's health bar, he's clearly bluffing. But just listen to the delivery of this line.
You're not as stupid as you look!
That's a thing the remake will never match. Anyway, now the boss will shoot rainbow rings at us, but he struggles to hit what's in the middle of the screen, and the weak spots are fully exposed, so it doesn't take long before we deal with him for good, leaving with one more great delivery.
I can't believe I lost to this scum!
Sorry to jet, but I'm in a hurry.
It just makes victory taste even better. Now, on to Fortuna. This stage is short and sweet. It's an arena level, meaning that the whole stage will be a battle around the base. The first part will need us to shoot as many enemy ships as we can until Sleepy asks why they're coming out. Rob will answer that a bomb has been planted in the base, and before we can do anything about it, we get another historical meme moment.
Can't let you do that, Starbuck.
Please welcome our rival team, Star Wolf, composed of Wolf the Wolf, Pigma the Traitor, Leon the Chameleon, and Andrew, Andross's nephew. Each one will chase one of our members, putting them in difficult situations. If they get chased, you'll have to find them and shoot their oppressor to free them for a moment. Thing is, our team is very passive and will often get chased and rarely the other way around, so we'll have to take them all on ourselves. The silver lining is that they don't have a lot of health in this first encounter, so they're pretty easy to deal with despite being on the aggressive side. Somersault and U-turns are pretty useful in these encounters, but be aware that Star Wolf can do these maneuvers too. I found a way to quickly deal with them too. In any stage where Star Wolf appears, they always have this little introduction where the camera will look at them. You can however skip this moment, return to your controls, go where the rival team appears, and shoot them as they arrive. You can even take one of two down before they get out of their entry formation. See that medal? That means we've got a good score on this stage. Each level has a point challenge to reach, and when we do, a medal will be awarded. Getting them all is the real challenge of the game. Also, there are some side missions to complete in most stages. If we fulfill the requirements, we can change our course and visit different stages of various difficulty. We even have the option to change course or retry the stage. I will delve in more detail later about course change and side missions, so for now that's all I'll say on the matter. Since I want to show you the easiest route, let's change paths and go to Sector X instead, where we'll investigate Andross's secret weapon. The level begins with waves of fast enemies that group up, so perfect to launch some charged shots and get a good amount of points. However, it doesn't take long to realize that this sector is in shambles. It seems like we're late to the party, but not too late, as huge arms are still destroying the floating plates moving around the sector.
What the heck is that?
Right after Peppy gets chased by enemies, there will be a split path here. We can either go left or right. Right contains more enemies, but left has a little special thing we'll come back to soon. Afterwards, we'll finally find the secret weapon and realize that the arms we've seen earlier are his. This boss isn't too much of a hassle, although his flaming might be a bit annoying. If he pulls back, he's about to launch his arms at us, and we'll have to wait until they reattach themselves before being able to shoot his weak point, which are the eyes. Once the protective shield is gone, the boss will feint his defeat, but come on now, it's the second time it happened. It's not subtle. Second part gets a bit more hectic. The boss will now do a haymaker and rush in on us. The weak point stays at the same place, but we have to be quick, otherwise Slippy will try to help and get slapped away on the next planet. If so, we'll be locked on the easy route, which is not a problem because that's where I wanted to go anyway. We finish the boss and then get to Titania, the desert planet, in search of our teammate. Defeating the boss before it knocks Sleepy away would change our route to Macbeth instead, but we're going to go later. The little special thing that's on the left side of the fork is a warp. To access it, we need to open all gates, and they're pretty difficult to open, so we'll need to break a lot to have enough time to shoot them. If succeeded, we'll get in a special stage that will bring us all the way to Sector Z. On this desert planet, we'll be able to try out the Landmaster, the tank version of the R-Wing. Controls are fairly the same, but the aim will feel different since we're grounded. No laser variant either, we shoot big bullets instead, but the charge shot is still available. No tilting either, well, at least not the same way. Holding Z or R will make the Landmaster lift one side, double tapping will make the tank do a tactical roll, and holding both buttons makes the tank hover for a short time. Now, the level is a bit chaotic. There's a lot happening around us, all the while Falco nags at Fox because he has the high ground for once. First enemies we'll see are huge turtle-like robots, pretty easy to beat, but right after that we'll be assaulted from the air while passing on a minefield. It gets a bit overwhelming watching out for aerial attacks while looking down for mines, but it's feasible. Homing lasers are next. We can either avoid them by boosting away or destroy the heads where the lasers come from. If we get low on health, we can always shoot those plant-like thingies. They can leave a ring behind for us to recover a bit. Okay, checkpoint time. Worst part of the stage is behind us. We'll now have to use our movement skill to avoid the falling pillars. Most enemies at this point are airborne, and there's a lot of opportunities to use charge shots for extra points as enemies' formation are quite narrow. We'll just have to avoid the mines in the zigzag valley afterwards and...
Ah! I'm hit!
Hey! Slippy's close! That means the boss should be too. Good thing we're passing through a plant field so we can recover a bit of life. And there he is, finally! We found our friend, but he's not alone. The moment we drop our guard, we get smacked because Slippy is in the clutches of the boss, who reveals itself to be... this thing! We'll have to shoot at the appendages first, as it's a requirement to not only get Slippy back, but also to open its chest cavity, where its weak point lies. While it doesn't have much HP, the boss may be a bit tough to deal with since it moves around a lot and its big head might protect it from our attacks. If we can't get its health bar down in time, it will recover its arms and we'll have to take them down again to get another shot at its weak point. In the meantime, the boss will flail one pair of arms at us, shoot with the other, swipe its tail occasionally, and use Hyper Beam once its cavity is open. It takes a bit of time, but we managed to completely destroy the threat and successfully saved our clumsy friend. Now we can get to the last area before Venom. This place is called Bolse. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I will, so deal with it. And is the last means of defense Venom has before we can get to it. Here, the ground will move and we'll be in all range mode, trying to neutralize the defense mechanism. Enemies here will be a bit more aggressive than in other levels, and Slippy will not miss a chance to tell it to you.
Fuck! Get this guy off! Get this guy off! Oh no! Fuck! Get this guy off! No!
Outside of babysitting Froggy, we'll need to disable the force field by shooting those antennae powering it. It can be a bit dizzying with the moving floor trying to reach every one of them, but you can get them easily enough by going the other way the ground is moving, and we can easily see where are the ones we missed by following the lightning currents. Once all antennae are shut down, the force field will disable itself, leaving the core open to attack, but even more enemies will come out as well, bringing in more chaos with them. We now need to focus on the core. Each little button needs to be shut down, but when we do, lasers will come out of them, making it harder to move around without taking damage. Bombs are particularly useful at this stage if you have some left. Once the core is out of commission, the stage will be won and the last mission of the game will now be upon us. No time for a briefing, we're going straight for Venom. The stage starts with waves upon waves of enemies, but to be fair, it's a pretty fun level. Ships will come out of everywhere and it's going to be a shoot fest. There will also be some movement challenges, but they're pretty easy to get through. Some parts will split with our teammates taking sides and you can choose who to follow, although where we chose to go doesn't matter much, as the split sequences are pretty short. Rob will also send a support box, and when he does, that means the level is almost over, as we'll reach a clearing and a temple will appear on the horizon. Oh yeah! Andros can also hijack our comms, as he'll try to taunt Fox by making the same type of call Rob does to supply us. It can take some people by surprise. I know I was flipping out the first time it happened. There's a mini boss inside waiting for us that we'll need to take care of before being able to confront Andros. It's a game of reverse temple run. Instead of being ran after, we're the ones chasing the runner. The goal is to fully remove its armor while he flails around, creating pillars from the floor and walls. We'll have to navigate through the obstacles while avoiding those monkey statues that appear sometimes. There are a lot of armor pieces to destroy. The legs, the arms, the shoulders, the body, and the waist. Once all parts are exposed, the head will turn red, signifying we can now shoot it. When done, a big red weak point will be exposed, and it's only when we deal with it that we'll be able to destroy the runner for good. Then, it's time to enter the final part of the level. Fox will say he'll face Andros alone, bold move, and get straight down the tunnel that leads to the scientist headquarters. He'll try to intimidate us, but buddy, I heard those lines a million times already. You can't scare me anymore. There will be some upgrades in the tunnel, so if we die and have to start the boss over, we can retry without being penalized. We reach Andros, who welcomes us with a hearty laugh. Despite being a bit intimidating, and quite fugly too, he's not really difficult to beat. He'll always do the same moves in the same order. Low punch and high swat from his left hand, middle punch from his right hand, clap his hands together and try to swallow us whole. The punches are easy to avoid once you know what to expect, but the swallowing animation goes for a long time. There's two ways to avoid it. First and easiest is to launch a bomb in his mouth, which will stop the animation outright, but if no bombs are left, getting in a bottom corner and holding the brake can also work. We'll be able to shoot the rocks that Andros spits out with the second method and have a chance to get bombs or health. To beat him, we'll have to get rid of his hand first, and I suppose the weak point is obvious enough to find. They're a bit hard to aim at since the boss moves them around a lot, but there are ways to create openings, such as shooting his eyes or when he swallows a bomb. Once both hands are gone, we'll have to shoot his tiny nose right between his eyes until he explodes into a mechanical phase that just tries to munch on us. But it only takes a couple of shots to finish him for good after that. The face explodes, setting a chain explosion, but Fox was ready for it. He quickly turns back before everything explodes, rejoining his crew in space, starting the credits sequence. A cutscene will be playing during this time, our crew slowly going back to Corneria to meet with General Pepper, who tries to recruit them in the Cornerian army. Fox wants none of it, and so does Rob, calling at the right moment to get the team out of there. The rest of the credits will be rolling while the four characters are running away from Corneria, now that they know the general wants them amongst their ranks. Is what I like to think, but on a more personal note, this moment has been burned into my memory for two reasons. First is that as a kid, I really struggled to play, let alone beat the game for the first time, so I have a lot of sense of pride and accomplishments tied to this ending sequence, especially at this part. This right there, it's a core memory. I don't get emotional easily when it comes to games, but hearing this part after years just struck me hard. I even felt a tear come up. Until I saw that face, then the dread I also felt as a kid came back as well. I was supposed to win, why is Andros laughing at me so menacingly? That's because we got a bad ending. Finishing the game by traveling from Bolse to Venom locks us in the bad ending, meaning we need to find a route that will bring us to another level instead. So why don't we jump back in the game and do another run? There's a lot more to see after all. Since we've visited Corneria already, let's talk a bit more about our teammates and their relevance to gameplay. We've seen them blabber a lot, but each one actually fulfills a role. Peppy will give you a lot of general advice. Slippy is a mess, but is the one who can make the boss health bar appear, while Falco can nag a lot, but will reveal hidden items and is the most aggressive of the three in all range mode. If they get downed, they'll miss the next stage, needing to repair their ship, so you'll miss any dialogue or secret they might help you uncover in stages. For example, when Falco has problems with his G-diffuser, we need to save him, otherwise he'll be out of commission and won't guide you to the alternate route. If we manage to help him, then fly in the arches in the lake, Falco will take the lead and bring us in the waterfall, changing the route we'll take and the boss we'll face. This one's actually a remake of the first boss you'd face in the original SNES game. It's pretty cool. He's not really difficult to beat. Just aim for the open spots, and once all 3 cargo bays are off, we shoot the body until it gives out. Just like I shown in Fortuna earlier, we now have the choice of the route we want to take. Since I want to show you the medium planets, let's go back to Meteo and find the alternative route there. Right after the checkpoint, there will be special rings, and if we pass through one, the R-wing will start to spin. Keep passing through all of them, and the last one will warp our crew in a wormhole just like in Sector X, filled with colorful rocks and bizarre enemies. There's a lot of goodies to take, and it's recommended to come here if you're trying to get the medal. It's the easiest way to get it. At the end of the sequence, we'll be able to get to Katina, our first medium level. A Cornerian squadron is located here, and Fox knows their leader called Bill, but we don't know exactly how they know each other. Regardless, this mission is in all range mode 1 and we'll need to support our allies and defeat the enemies. It's a bit tough to know who's who, but I found out that enemies don't have that little red glow behind their ship, and our charged shot won't lock on allies. Despite this, it's really tough not to accidentally shoot Bill's squad. Hey, where's my reticle? After we shoot down 10 enemies, a huge spaceship will appear, sending even more bogies in the arena. This is the boss and we'll have to shoot the hatches when they're open. Bill will always call when they do. Once all 4 hatches are destroyed, the mothership core will appear and a countdown will start. We need to destroy the core in the allotted time, otherwise the base will be annihilated, just like in Fortuna. It's pretty easy to get rid of though, as the core itself won't hide like the hatches, and if we manage to succeed, we'll be able to travel to the fucking sun! If we let the mothership destroy the base, we'll have to go back to Sector X instead. What do you mean there's a bioweapon on the sun? Fortunately, our ships can handle temperatures up to 9,000 degrees. Despite this engineering feat, we'll take constant damage while in this stage. The lower you get, the more damage you take, so we need to stay as high as we can. Aw, come on, not that way. Rocks will jump out of the lava and they're chock full of health items for some reason. The birds are the only enemies here. They can shoot projectiles and are quite sturdy for normal enemies, but not really threatening. Bill will even come to help us to pay us back from our intervention on Katina, revealing even more healing items for a little while. No, but seriously, how did I lose the yang thingy? It's getting hard to... Oh, I see, like that. The stage itself will try and stop us with giant lava waves as well, but despite that, the level is quite uneventful. It's more about keeping a cool head rather than skillful maneuvers. We'll meet the bioweapon at the end of the stage, some sort of alien-looking creature with sides for arms. It spits rocks, can flail his arms and create lava serpents, and that's pretty much it. Well, as long as it has its arms. First thing we need to do is to shoot them both, and once they're gone, the boss will profusely bleed lava, but it doesn't seem to mind. No, instead it will take this opportunity to get new moves, such as spinning in place and sending some blood our way, and some other means, but its head also gets vulnerable at that moment, and if we shoot it enough, it will just explode off the body. No alternate paths here. Finishing this stage will always bring us to Macbeth, the second Landmaster level. This one is much more fun than the Titania stage. We're now on the offensive, going for the enemy's main supply depot located on this planet. We'll chase after the train, and what's cool is that we can destroy it section by section. It's filled with boulders and guns that can make even more boulders spawn, so it's recommended to use bombs and just get rid of them. getting a nice amount of points at the same time. While the stage is full of enemies, it's much less chaotic than on Titania, being more sequential, giving us short moments to catch our breath in between action sequences. Lots of static obstacles too, they can obstruct our aim, but it's not too bothersome. Once we get at the front of the train, the boss will appear, but there's another thing to focus on. Peppy will tell Fox to shoot the 8 switches to change the train route towards the fuel bunker. It's a bit challenging to find them all. The first 4 are simple enough to get as long as you're aware that the third one is on the left side of the tracks. The 5th one is also on the left side, the 6th one is behind the door, and both 7 and 8 are soon after. They're tough to get alone, but if Falco is here, he'll shoot the 8th lock so you can focus on the 7th. If done correctly, the switcher should appear, and once shot, the train will be set on a path to collision with the fuel bunker, creating a big and satisfying explosion. The boss itself is a bit on the tiresome side. It can create pillars to obstruct movement and try to grab us with its tail. We can shoot at it to destroy the head and tail to prevent it from attacking, but at that point, the conductor will start to leave some laser boxes behind. See that glowing part when the train opens? We need to shoot that to make the boss's actual weak point appear. It will move around a lot though, so it might take more than one try to deplete the health bar. Now, we have the opportunity to travel to Sector 6 and lock in the good ending, but there's something else I want to show you on Bolse first. Since we haven't visited Fortuna this run, Starwolf will meet us here instead, increasing the difficulty of the level. This, alongside Bill's appearance on Solar, just shows how events can change depending on the choices you make during your playthrough, increasing the replayability of the game. And that's all the medium stages we can visit. No need to rewatch the ending, but it should be mentioned that Bill appears in it, as a little bonus for visiting Katina. Let's pick it back up from the first hard stage, Sector Y. This level is a fun one to play. We're reinforcing the station squadron, fighting a losing battle against Andross's forces, piloting Gundam-like robots, giving them increased mobility. Soon enough, the enemy troops will appear, and as Peppy says, we must shoot as many as we can. At certain points, either Peppy or Falco will comment on our performance. Peppy if we shut down enough enemies, otherwise Falco will nag at us.
You're supposed to shoot them all!
There is a lot of ships with many destroyable spots on them, helping gaining points, but can also force charge shots to lock on them when you don't want to, so bombs are pretty useful in most of the stage. Towards the end, if we hear Falco say,
Is that the best you can do?
we're probably going to miss our chance at staying on the hard route. That doesn't mean we're locked in yet. We need at least 100 points to stay on the toughest path, and the boss is right around the corner. They are upgraded Gundam robots moving around, but their guns are a bit on the weak side. The challenge here is that we're in all range mode and the enemies are moving around a lot, so it's difficult to keep our aim on them. The moment we do though, they won't last long as they have almost as much HP as the normal enemies we've seen in the level. Once both are dealt with, the real boss will appear along his ship. This one's much harder to aim at than the 2 others as he has upgraded jets, but his gun is just as weak. He might be quick, but he will periodically go back to his ship and be a sitting duck for a moment, and that's our opening to pelt him with lasers, destroying his mobile suit completely. Hey, look at that! Over 100 points! We can stay on the difficult course and head to Aquas, the most unique stage of the game. Aquas is a water planet and the threat to neutralize is underwater, but thanks to Slippy, we have just the thing to get to it. Introducing the Blue Marine, a submarine type vehicle that's only playable on this planet for the better or worse. There is some time at the beginning to adapt to its control as the Blue Marine's projectiles can't be charged and bombs are replaced by torpedoes. They're only as potent as a charged shot, but they can lock in automatically on enemies. We've got an infinite supply of them, and they can be shot as soon as the one on screen explodes, so they're great at short range. Be careful of the starfish, they detonate if we get too close. Once the water turns dark, the tough part begins. Our field of sight narrows and more enemies will start appearing. Luckily, torpedoes can brighten up our vision the time they're active, and some enemies get vulnerable only when shot by them, so another reason to abuse them. The broken pillars can be destroyed also by shooting a torpedo at them, revealing healing items as needed as things can become quite chaotic at times. It's not any better after the checkpoint. The path will narrow and be filled with electric jellies, exploding starfish and falling boulders. There's going to be one last gauntlet after this, and then we'll come face to face with the boss, which is a giant mutated oyster? Whatever it is, it's the cause of the pollution happening here, and we need to get rid of it. First, we need to get rid of the barnacles or nests, I don't know what they are, with torpedoes, while avoiding the enemies that come out of them, and the bubbles the boss will launch at us. Once they fall off the clam, it will open and we'll have to shoot its two muscles until they become gay, then shoot a torpedo to destroy them. The window to do so is pretty short though, so we'll have to launch the torpedo a bit in advance to successfully get a hit in. The bubbles will keep coming though, and they can be really annoying as they can block shots, especially once the two columns are no more. Now that the muscle cannot close anymore, its true weak point can be exposed by shooting the middle part until the eye is revealed, then shoot a torpedo at it to do damage. We have to do it 5 times, and each time the boss's health drops, it will retaliate by shooting more and more bubbles. If they get too much in the way, we can temporarily neutralize the spawners, but they grow back after a time. Despite its efforts, we defeat the bioweapon thanks to Slippy's feat of engineering, despite the rest of the crew piling up on him for being an annoying little shit, I think. No special conditions to fulfill, we go straight to Zonus. Just as the mission title says, Zonus has already been invaded, and this is the aftermath. The water is completely polluted, making this planet a complete dump. Falco looks especially concerned about the state of it for some reason. Regardless, we're on an uncover mission. The enemy doesn't know we're here yet, so we'll have to shoot all searchlights to stay hidden from sight, which is the root requirement for the stage. The first few ones are easy enough to get, but as we advance, they're going to be progressively harder to get. Fortunately, we're going to have a bit of help from Kat, who seems to know Falco looking at his reaction once she appears. She's going to help us get the searchlights for a bit, and her kills will count as ours. Cool. The checkpoint is not too far after that, and so is the tough part of the level, as gates will start to appear and we need to shoot the rudders to lift them up. Some searchlights will be hidden behind them, so it's important to shoot the top of the rudder, otherwise the gate won't lift. Some barges with boxes will also appear, and we can shoot their cargo to reveal pickups and get points at the same time. There's going to be a little downtime with lots of barges and fewer enemies until we see the 4 last searchlights appear. Once we pass them, it's boss time. This one is completely immune to our lasers, so we'll have to use bombs to damage the ship. If we don't have any, we can shoot the cannonballs to get some back, and you could even fill your stock if you stall for a moment. First thing we need to shoot are those pipes at the top, then we'll be able to target the cannons. One shot is enough to take them down, but the boss has a crane he can use to recover them. He will turn around, leaving the crane vulnerable to our bombs, and it needs 3 hits to be destroyed. Afterwards, the cannons won't come back, so we can shoot them down for good. The captain will start to panic and shoot every weapon he has left at us, but is now vulnerable to laser fire, so it doesn't take long before we make this pirate walk off the plank. Since our sneak attack was successful, we can travel to Sector Z, where Andros' forces will retaliate with their own. Their target has arrived and are now moving on the offensive, having prepared 6 missiles that are aimed at the Great Fox, so this is a protection mission in all range mode. The missiles will come in 3 waves, adding 1 at each sequence. They all arrive from the bottom of the radar, and sometimes enemies will spawn alongside them. They move at a constant speed and aren't very sturdy, so 1 isn't a problem, 2 is manageable, but 3 requires good aim and timing, which, as you can see, I do not have. Luckily, our teammates will sometimes go after 1 and damage it to contribute, and since we come from Zonus, Kat will appear and support us on the 3rd wave, making it less of a burden. Once the last one is destroyed, the mission will be a success, locking us in the good ending and bringing us to Sector 6. If a missile ever hits the Great Fox, it will lose one of its wings and the crew will be forced to take the long road to Bolse instead. This level is also infamous, as it's one of the hardest missions to get a medal, as there aren't a lot of enemies to shoot down and is pretty short as well. This is it. It's their last
Game in
line
here.
of defense and
No
the
problem.
most difficult stage of the game in my opinion, but certainly not the worst.
Do you
We're
copy?
going to wreak havoc
Emergency
in the
maneuver.
enemy's ranks and they can't do anything about it, although they'll certainly try. We'll have to break through satellite ships, mines, and lots of enemies first. It's a bit overwhelming the first time you get there, but at certain points, even the Great Fox will come in and support us, shooting down some ships to clear the way. Right after its first intervention, the enemy will send slow but powerful missiles. It's tough to get all of them, so using a bomb here is a viable option because these can hurt a lot and our crewmates may get caught in their explosions as well. Next part will contain a lot of enemies and even some hijacking shenanigans, but nothing out of the ordinary until the checkpoint where bigger battleships will start to appear. We're now breaking their fleet and we can even take out a battleship ourselves if we shoot that head part, otherwise we can lock on the turrets for some easy points. The officers will panic seeing they can't stop us and deploy their secret weapon, a sphere with tentacles. While it may sound uncanny, this is the hardest boss of the game. First, it'll open and start generating its tentacles. During this time, we have to shoot down all 3 energy balls to weaken the shield protecting its weak point. We have to be quick as if the boss manages to spawn its 3 tentacles, it'll close and the balls will regenerate, proceeding to its next phase. We'll have to shoot the tentacles to destroy them while it tries to attack us with them. Once they're gone, there will be a stalling period where the boss will shoot missiles for a while. They sometimes leave a silver ring behind to help us keep going, but don't rely on them, they're not that frequent. Only then will the cycle repeat and we'll have another shot at weakening its core shield. We have to do this at least 3 times to expose the core, but the thing is, the red shield will always regenerate and the boss will get a new attack as well. A big laser that lasts for quite a long time. We'll have to get down and push in a corner of the screen to completely avoid it. If the laser overwhelms your screen like this, you're going to be fine. This one took some time, but it goes down like all the others. Now, for the last push, we're going to visit Andros again. Since we've got to Venom from the good side, there's no level to navigate through. Instead, we'll have one more dogfight with Starwolf, now with upgraded ships and portraits. This time, they're serious and nothing like our previous encounters. They're more aggressive and accurate and will respond to our shots with more evasive maneuvers. They're also worth 50 points each at most, so defeating them early can net us the medal for the planet. Our allies are very important in this fight to distract the rivals and let us gain some easy shots in, but Wolf will constantly try to smell our rear, so while he's the hardest one to take down, he should also be the first one to go. Despite their upgrades, Starwolf still goes down for one final time, leaving Fox ready to enter Andros' HQ and finish him once and for all. The tunnel leading to the final boss is different this time. We'll have to choose to go either left or right, and we might find upgrades depending on the route chosen. There is an optimal one to get our lasers to level 3, some bombs and gold rings to be fully stocked for the upcoming battle, but not exactly necessary. The first part of the battle is the same as the easy route, it's the second one that changes.
Only I have the range to rule my life.
We'll have a final duel in all range modes with the scientist's brains and eyes. Ew. The eyes need to go first, they'll chase you around the arena and try to get behind you. The strategy I like best here is to sharply turn one direction until I get in a favorable position to shoot the eyes. Since they're always trying to get behind you, it's easy to take advantage of their AI and they don't take too many shots before going down. Now for the tougher part of the fight. The cerebrum on Andros' brain will now be visible and that's our target. Thing is, Andros is now chasing after us and if he catches Fox, our pilots will have a bad time and it's almost certain our wings will break. If we shoot him too much, Andros can also teleport, but he always teleports behind Fox's ship, so once you understand the pattern and immediately start to reposition, you can get in a good position to shoot the weak point. Once it's destroyed, the battle will be won, but Andros won't let us escape so easily, making himself explode trying to take us down with him. And it almost works!
Don't ever give up, my son.
Until James appears, that is. We'll have to follow him out of the collapsing tunnel as all other paths are now dead ends. We narrowly escape, but once out, James is nowhere to be found. I wonder why. The ending credits are the same for the most part, except that Kat will appear for a moment, just like Bill did in our first ending, and Andross's face won't appear at the end, marking the true ending of this fantastic game. Now, the main campaign may be over, but there are still some stuff to check out, eh? I briefly talked about medals earlier, which we must reach a point threshold to get. They're not just for bragging rights, they are actually necessary to unlock stuff in the game, like an expert mode. Yeah, the hard route wasn't the hardest path in the game. Have you tried the hard route on expert mode? Now it's hard alright. But what does expert mode add? Well, there are more enemies, they're more aggressive, power-up appearance will be less frequent, your wings will break the moment they're impacted, and Fox will have his father's glasses because he's now an expert. Oh, and we have to get all medals and stages again. It's not as tough as in the normal mode since there are much more enemies, but the added conditions makes it challenging nonetheless. Finishing the game in expert mode will also give you 2 different pieces of artwork, depending on the route taken. Other than that, getting a medal on Venom in normal mode will unlock the Landmaster in multiplayer, while medal on Expert Venom will unlock characters on foot with a bazooka. That was so cool back in the 90s when we discovered this and played among friends. I remember laughing a lot seeing Slippy waddling around. Also, notice the options now have an expert mode? That's the sound test. Well, more like music player. You can also play expert mode in the tutorial if you highlight expert on campaign, then enter training mode. Talking about training mode, did you know you could make Wolf appear in it? At the end, you get to practice all range mode, shooting enemy ships and practicing movement. If you get 100 points, Wolf's spaceship will appear and you'll be able to fight it. Oh right, and one more thing. You can move the 64 on the main menu, pretty sure you didn't know this one. Since I've played the game in its entirety and the demo for the upcoming remake, allow me to talk about it, what made me want it despite it being yet another retelling, and my hopes for its content. The new design looked great. I feel like it's a hot take, sounds like many people dislike the character's new appearance, but just look at how expressive they are. I haven't played Assault or Command either, so seeing them interact together and have actual personalities is new to me. The cutscenes look phenomenal. They didn't have to animate James' visit on Venom, but they did, and it makes me wonder what other parts did they turn into a cutscene as well. I love the briefing parts too, to see how the story develops depending on the route you take. Sounds like General Pepper is withholding a lot of information on Fushina, and they make traveling to Katina sound like a heavy choice to make. Even if I know that gameplay won't change at all, adding a bit more lore in between missions is a great choice in my opinion. It makes the rediscovery of the Lilat system that much more interesting. Star Fox 64 leaves a lot of plot holes to make way for a faster gameplay feel, and it seems like they're going to take advantage of this by making each briefings a new cutscene, deepening the world which had a lot of untapped potential since its conception. Maybe we'll know more about Bill, Kat, or maybe even some bosses. Is Starwolf just there to be general pains in the butt, or do they have more motives this time around? Gameplay wise, it feels slightly different than the original, but in a good way. The aiming feels more precise with lasers and especially locking on enemies. Sure, the stages are the same, but the dialogue change and additions of more lines makes it fun to re-explore the levels, even if I know the new script will fall short compared to the original. They will never match the impact of some line delivery like in the N64 version. The new background on Meteo looks outstanding. I wonder how they upgraded the looks of the rest of the planets and areas. I'm also eager to play as the Landmaster and even check out the Blue Marine. Maybe we'll see that weird ship transformation from Star Fox Zero too, who knows? The addition of extra missions that differ depending on the difficulty you play is another good thing that will enhance replayability even further. Are the medals now locked as rewards for getting the side missions, or are they still score based? Will there be more unlockables? What about the status screen? When I finished both Meteo Pass, I noticed the left side of the screen had different statuses. Like in one, my life support was damaged, whereas my second run, it was okay. Will this affect gameplay in any way? If not, what is it for? Even though I'm full of interrogation and hopes, I have to say that I don't think they'll make more additions on the gameplay front. It's more wishful thinking on my part, but it doesn't bother me too much. I'll be fine with the old story retold in a new way. I'm also eager to test how the multiplayer will work too. And I think it's fair to ask if I'm going to get the new OoT Remake, since it's another remake, and the answer is no, I don't think I will. Yes, Ocarina of Time is a staple of Nintendo's greatest games of all time, but I wasn't impressed with the new art style from the few seconds of the trailer we had. And in regards to the Zelda franchise, I'm not as open to remakes. I'm far more interested in the next installment. How much will they add in terms of new cutscenes? What will be added to the gameplay? The sort of experience this game gives isn't as replayable as Star Fox. The story isn't as flexible, and they can't add much before changing some parts of the story, unlike Star Fox, which just had almost none. And no sign yet if they'll add new content or keep the story as is either. I'm sure we'll have more information before it comes out, but my stance stays the same. I'm interested in watching other people play it, but I'm not convinced I want it for myself. Now, if they did, like the Wind Waker and that kind of graphics, perhaps I would have been more open to check it out. But it's not, it's Ocarina of Time. Whatever. This is it for this video. I enjoyed revisiting Star Fox 64, it made a lot of good memories resurface, and I'm excited to see what this new remake will have in store for those willing to give it a chance. If it's bad or underwhelming in the end, that will be on me for trusting Nintendo once more and seeing the paths they've chosen to walk in recent years. It may very well be. The Switch 2 looks more and more like another Wii U disaster, and if so, well, at least I'll had my fun with it. Thanks for watching, leave your opinion in the comments if you so wish, and I'll see you next time, maybe? Until then, take care.